Hi everyone, welcome back to Peace, our 30-day yoga journey. Today is day 21, Rejuvenate. So I'd like to share a quote by Van Gogh. We must always change, renew, and rejuvenate, otherwise we harden. So it's kind of like that saying, move it or lose it. If we don't move, then things stiffen up, we get tighter, we get more uncomfortable, we don't have the same range of motion that we have when we move around. And so rejuvenating to me, it can either be something that's more relaxing, so we're trying to slow down and take time to heal and renew ourselves and rest and get more energy. Or it can be like where we're pushing ourselves a little bit more. We're trying something different. We're challenging ourselves. So rejuvenate is kind of a balance between rest and challenge. And so we're going to build that in our practice today through sequencing, through different poses and how we move in and out of them. And hopefully it'll feel like you'll feel rejuvenated and refreshed and renewed and, and just have a good time in the process. So let's start on our backs. And just hug your knees into your chest. And focus on your breath. Notice on the inhale how the floor is kind of pushed away, your legs are kind of pushed away as you get bigger inside. And on the exhale, everything gets a little more compressed. So feel the ribs moving, the lungs expanding, your body moving a little bit. And focus on lengthening the breath, the inhale and the exhale a little bit. Now squeeze your right knee into your chest, kind of by the side of the ribs, and straighten your left leg out, but hover it above the floor. Then start to do little circles with just your left leg. And notice how your whole body kind of wants to move here. And reverse the direction of the circles. Good, and then hug both knees into your chest again. And hold on to the left knee, hugging it in, straighten the right leg out, and do some circles. And reverse the direction of your circles. Good, hug both knees in again. Give yourself a nice squeeze. And then place your feet on the floor for bridge pose. Bring your feet about hip distance apart. Lift and spread all your toes. And sprinkle them back down again. Feel the back of your shoulder blades pressing into the floor. And on your next inhale, press down, squeeze in with the legs, and lift up. And as you exhale, start to lower down from the upper back through the middle back. Tucking your tailbone so the low back touches down before you really feel the weight of your hips settling into the ground. So lift and spread your toes again, renew that energy. Press down into the sole of the tip of the big toe, as well as the big toe mound, pinky toe mound, center of the heel, and lift up. Squeeze in a little bit with your legs. And start to curl your tailbone towards your heels. So you're kind of unrolling as you lower down. And let's do that one more time. Press down, lift up. Squeeze the legs towards each other. And slowly lower your back down. This time hold the back of your knees when you hug your knees into your chest. We're going to just gently rock back and forth. And see if you can make the movement pretty big, but at the same time control the movement. We'll just do one more rocking up, and then we'll hold it here and see if you can balance on your glutes. So you can keep your knees bent and you can hold the back of your knees, or you can work towards straightening your legs and squeezing your legs in towards each other, and maybe slide your hands up to your feet and start to pull your legs to your chest to your legs. So your chest and your legs are drawing a little bit closer towards each other. So it's almost like you're coming into like a forward fold, but you're seated. Or like a standing forward fold in terms of your legs and your chest being really close, but you're seated. And then try and find the balance between letting your back round a little bit and lifting up. Then bend your knees, place your feet down and come on into a squat. Reach your arms forward. Oh, I forgot to say, please have a blanket or a towel handy that we can roll up. So you can get that anytime. And then place your hands down and step back into plank. Lower your knees, coming into tabletop. Now stretch your left leg back. We're going to rotate at the hip joint. So bring your foot about as wide as your hip, and then lift your hip up to rotate your heel down. The big toe stays where it is, and then lower your hip down to lift your heel up and press into the pinky toe side of the foot as well as the big toe mound. So we're just going to rotate the hip like as wide as you can, and then back, really lifting the inner thigh. You could even come up onto your fingertips to see if you can get your hips a little more stacked and come back down. But this is giving you the idea of moving our hips without swinging our leg behind. Well, next time your hip is stacked, lift your leg up and see if you can do that same feeling of rotating the hips. So the leg is more or less staying in the same place. It's not swinging behind us. Now swing your leg behind you over to the right. Gaze over your right shoulder at your left heel. Push the floor away. And pick your leg up, and we're going to swing it all the way around to the front. So we're moving through that range of motion in the hips. Place your foot down and twist to your left. Bring your left hand down, stretch your left knee forward, keeping the heel down, keeping the arch lifting. And think of lifting up through the inner thigh of the back leg, the right leg. And now shift your hips back, bowing over your leg. Inhale back up, lift your back knee off the floor and swing your leg up in the air. And we're going to try and do the same thing of that hip rotation. Moving in the hip joint, keeping the leg nice and strong and engaged. Going from stacking the hips to making the hips more parallel. And this time we're going to bring our leg all the way around and forward to the inside of our hand. Square the hips and rise up, crescent lunge. Pressing into the sole of the big toe right near the tip of the toe, and keep lifting up, finding your expression, your full expression of crescent lunge. And lower your hands back down again. Step back to down dog. Give yourself a nice long stretch. Bend your knees, lower your knees to the floor. And we'll repeat that with the right leg. So stretch your right leg back. You can even look back. Make sure your foot is in line with your hip. And then we're just going to spin the heel down to stack the hip. You can come up onto your fingertips. And then lift the heel up, pressing into the pinky toe mound as well as the big toe mound. So the inner thigh is lifting. And go back and forth. Feeling that rotation in the hip joint. And pick your leg up, swing it over to the left. Press into the big toe mound and out through your heel. Then we're going to pick the leg up and swing it all the way around to the side, placing it where the right hand was. Twist to the right. Bring your right arm forward and down. Stretch your right knee forward, keeping the arch lifted and the heel down. Just move around here a little bit, exploring. And then send your hip back, bow over your leg. Good. Come back up to center. Lift your back knee off the floor. And we're going to pivot the back foot just like we did earlier. And send your hips back. Come on back forward again and step back into downward facing dog. Wait a minute. We'll do the same thing on the right leg. So stretch the right leg out and pivot your hip, making it parallel to the floor and then perpendicular to the floor and back and forth. And pick your foot up, swing it over to the right, pressing out through the left heel. And pick your leg up, swing it all the way around to the front of your mat and twist to the right. Bring your right hand down, stretch your knee forward. And send your hips back, bowing over your leg. Come back up to center, lift your back knee up, rise up, crescent lunge, open up. Nice, lower forward, stretch your right leg behind you, and we'll do that same moving at the hip joint without swinging our leg out to the side. And swing your leg all the way around, bringing it to your left thumb, and stretch your hips back. Bring your knee forward, rise up, crescent lunge. Really open up through your heart. And come on back forward again. Step back into downward facing dog. Nice, lower your knees to the floor. Bring your right hand out to the right a little bit. Turn your right toes out to the right. Stretch your left leg back and reach your left arm up and over. And bring your arm and leg up. And bend your elbow, touch your knee to your elbow. Straighten back up. And lower down, reach down. Inhale up. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale back up. Exhale, reach. One more time. Inhale up. Elbow to knee. Inhale back up again. Reach and stretch and come on back into tabletop. Let's reach the right leg back. Bring the left foot toes out to the left a little bit. Stretch out through the right toes and the right fingertips. Lifting your ribs up and lift your arm and leg up. Bend your elbow, touch your knee. Reach back up, lower down and reach. Again, lift up, elbow to knee. Stretch back out, lower down and reach. Last one, lift up, elbow to knee. Lift back up again, find that stretch, and come on back into your tabletop. And just kind of groove around, let your body move. Don't think about it too much. Good. And now we're going to draw like semicircles with our ribs. So lower your ribs down, arching your back. Big arch, big cow pose. And then bring your ribs out to the left, back down through center, and out to the right. And back down through center. They're doing these little, like, half circles. Come back to center, and now round your spine. And bring your ribs over to the left, back to center, over to the right. Again, look, we're kind of completing the top half of the circle. Come back to center. Now see if we can do the whole circle. Almost like you're rubbing your ribs along the inside of a barrel. And let's switch the direction. Nice. Come back to center. Tuck your toes. Lift up and back into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, reach your right leg up and step your foot all the way forward. Now, you may want to use a block here, or we're going to come into half moon. So you could keep your hands on the floor. You could use that blanket that I asked you to get. You could use a block underneath your right hand. But lift your leg up and first create like a standing L. So your toes are pointing down, your inner thigh is lifting, and you're hugging that right hip, that right glute underneath you. Now start to open up, just like we've been practicing on the floor. Open up, stack your hips, press into your foot, reach out through your top leg, open up through the shoulders, reach your arm up, reach your gaze up, reach your back leg up. And now we're going to lower our hand down and square the hips and open back up into a half moon. Stacking the hips, really hugging that right glute underneath you. And then bring your hand down, square the hips, parallel the hips, and open up again. Find your half moon. Nice. Lower your hand down, squaring your hips, and step back into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, sweep your left leg up. Step your foot all the way forward to your hand. Step into your front foot, reach the left arm forward a little bit, and first come up and square your hips. So I'm really hugging this left hip underneath. I'm not letting it swing out to the side. Hugging it underneath. And then stack your hips, pressing into your foot. Slowly open up the shoulders. Keep the top leg super engaged. Reach up, maybe look up. Now slowly bring your right hand down and square your hips, lifting up through the inner thigh. And then stack your hips, open the hips. Reach your arm up. Maybe reach your leg a little higher. Nice. Bring your hand down, square the hips again, squeeze those inner thighs towards each other. And then open the hips, stack the hips. Lower your top hand down, square your hips, and step back, downward facing dog. We'll play with adding on a little bit. So on your next inhale, sweep your right leg up, lifting up through the inner thigh. And then hug your knee into your chest, step your foot all the way forward. Move your right hand forward a little bit, reach the left leg up, squaring the hips, squeezing those inner thighs together. And now bring your left hand forward a little bit, and we're going to twist to the right, revolved half moon. Nice. Lower your top hand down. And now another thing we can play with is stacking the hips again. This time, pull your knee into your chest, reach back for your foot, grab your foot. This is an option, so you can come into half moon again, or you can play with something new. Holding your foot, kicking your foot back, opening the chest up. And now let's square the hips and kick your foot up. Similar actions, but a little different. And release your foot. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, reach the left leg up, reaching up through the inner thigh. And squeeze your knee into your chest. Keep your knee lifted as you step your foot forward. And come on into standing splits first, like that L shape. And then start to stack your hip, opening up. Half moon. Bring your hand back down again, square your hips, standing L, and twist to your left, revolved half moon. Nice, slow your top hand down again, come back into your half moon. This time, if you want to play with it, you could hug your knee into your chest, makes it easier to reach for your foot. Hold your foot and then start to kick your foot back and open as you press your chest forward. Keep the legs nice and strong, grounding through your feet. And now we'll just basically do the same thing, but we're going to square the hips so the foot is lifting up instead of back. And release your foot. Step back, downward facing dog. So let's try that again. Let's repeat that. So on your inhale, reach your right leg up. On your exhale, step it all the way forward. Come on up to an L shape. And twist to your right. Lower the right hand down. Stack your hips. Bend your knee. Reach for your foot. And start to open up, kicking your foot back, your knee back, opening up through your chest. And then square your pelvis to the ground, kick your leg up. Release your foot for standing splits, bow over your leg. And step back into downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg up, reaching through that inner thigh. That helps to keep your hips more square. And then pull your knee into your chest. Step your foot forward. Bring your hand forward, lift your right leg up, squaring the hips, and twist to your left. Lower the left hand down, stack your hips. Pull your knee in toward your chest, find your foot, and begin to kick your foot back as you press your chest forward. Just take it nice and slow, staying grounded in your foot. And now we'll square the pelvis toward the floor, make the pelvis parallel to the floor, and kick up. Release your foot, standing splits. And step back into your downward facing dog. And just kind of swing your hips from side to side. And walk your feet forward to your hands and come on into a squat. So if you can squat every day, that is so healthy for you. It's a really good thing to do. If you sit down on the floor, that'll make you squat to get up. So now lower your hips to the floor. Take your blanket or your towel, or you can pause the video and get that now. And this is just a rolled up blanket. So you can see I'm just rolling it up. And you can decide how much you want to roll it up, depending on how big your blanket is. You might want a thicker roll or you might want a thinner roll. So we're going to place this lengthwise on our mat and lie back on this for a nice restorative, relaxing pose. Just gentle shoulder opener. Now you can place your arms however you want, but if you move them around, you'll notice that you have either a more intense stretch or a less intense stretch. You could straighten your legs if you wanted to, or you could bring your feet out to the side, let your knees rest in on each other. We're going to rest here for at least a minute or two. And just let everything relax. You can focus in on your breath. And just let everything go. Just a few more breaths here. Now straighten your legs out and just point through your toes, flex through your ankles. So flex and extend back and forth. As you point your toes, press the big toe mounds forward and then stretch your toes forward. And pull back the pinky toe side of your foot. Think of you're drawing that towards the outer knee. Just go back and forth. And now let's slowly come off the blanket. And we're going to move the blanket to a different spot. So now bring the blanket perpendicular to your mat. And we're going to lie down with our psoas, our hip creases, right on the blanket roll. You can lower your chest to the floor and rest your head on the back of your hands. And just let everything relax here. Feel free to adjust the position of the blanket so that it's really comfortable for you. And you can turn your head the other direction. Just a few more breaths here. And come on up, and we're gonna roll over so that we're resting our sacrum on this blanket. Give our hips a little elevation and float your legs up. Again, this should be very comfortable, so feel free to adjust the blanket if you need it a little bit higher. So you want it just below your waist. Now spread your toes as wide as you can. And then start to point your toes, reach out through your toes. Flex your feet, drawing your toes towards your shins, pressing up through the pinky toe side of your foot. And then invert your ankles so the soles of your feet kind of reach towards each other. Then evert your ankles. And just go back and forth a couple more times. Playing with that range of motion. And now, externally rotate the hips so your heels come together. And then internally rotate your thighs so the big toes come together. And just go back and forth. And then just rest here. Let everything relax. Nice. Bend your knees, lift your hips, slide the blanket out from underneath, and start to curl your tailbone towards your heels as you lower your back down. And hug your knees into your chest again. Flex and point your feet. Maybe circle your feet together. Reverse the circle. Separate your knees and come on into a happy baby. Holding your legs wherever is comfortable. So it might be at your feet, it might be down by your calves, it might even be on the back of your upper thighs. And bring your knees in towards each other. See, like work on just paralleling your feet, seeing what that feels like. And then bring your feet together, straighten your legs as much as you can, and draw your legs in towards your chest. And then slowly lower your legs all the way down. And we'll come into our Savasana, just letting everything go. And just for the idea of rejuvenation, we'll make this a slightly longer Savasana, maybe about 2 minutes. So you really have time to completely relax, and feel free to move your body a little bit so that you can be comfortable and relaxed. And feel everything just settling down. Notice the ribs rising on the inhale and your back sinking into the floor on the exhale. Let your fingers be completely relaxed. Feel free to let out a sigh if you just feel that coming. Just don't try and stop it, just let it go. And start to slowly turn your head from side to side. Nice. Come back to center. Stretch your arms over your head and stretch between your fingers and your toes. Draw your ribs towards the floor. And then hug your knees into your chest. One more time. And gently rock your way up to a comfortable seat. Thank you so much for joining me for day 21, Rejuvenate. I hope that you feel rejuvenated with a deep overriding sense of peace and equanimity and this feeling of being calm and relaxed, and yet at the same time, like full of energy to make whatever happen in your life that you want to happen. Always, as always though, being humble and realizing that we can't control everything and we might not always get what we want, but we usually get what we need. So, again, thank you for joining me. I'd love to hear a comment below and see you for tomorrow, day 22, gratitude.